Welcome to the Center of Light. We got a call. Somebody's phone's ringing. Center of Light. Good to see you, Keith Anthony Blanchard. I love it. Magic happens everywhere. Keith Anthony Blanchard is Center of Light. Welcome to Center of Light, Center of Divine Unfoldment and Reinforcement. Strap in all my brothers. Actually, take the strap off. We need an exhilarating ride, as if we don't have one already. Take off your seatbelts, y'all. We're going inside. How's the world treating you? How are you treating the world? Strange time in it. Opportunity to find yourself. Brings you deep into the rabbit hole, doesn't it? Sometimes we find little nuggets and little rabbit treats, and sometimes we find little rabbit pellets. Today I have a wonderful guest. I just met the fine gentleman via Gavin Lee Davies from John Hunt's Publishing. We're both authors, and this is how we meet and are able to do this thing that we do. We call the dance of life, and we all try to make sense of it. If you're trying to make sense of the outside world, give it up. You can't make sense of the senseless. But what you can do is engage your senses. That's the most sensible thing you can do. And then all of a sudden, all of these faculties, these packets of light, these doorways, these chakras, all these things begin to pop open, pop, 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 and information comes in. You don't know how you know. You don't care to know how you know. You just want to know, and there it sits. Opportunities arise, guidance arise. You look out and about, and this mess, this beautiful mess, actually. Are you seeing this mess as something beautiful? Quit messing about. Look around. See the truth. Look in the mirror. See the greatest truth. And you find yourself sitting in a wonderful spot, ready for the next phase, if you will. It's going to get noisy. Come October and early November, you have to plug your ears. Step back. Let it happen. Step in when you can to make a difference. Step back out. Don't become a part of the noise. That world will grab you. It will grab you. Center of Light. Tonight, my guest is I did an early interview for this fine gentleman. So tonight, let's call it tonight. Where he's at, it's night. Hello, UK.
Hello.
So Center of Light, let me tell you about my guest today. Let me grab his stuff so I can have it ready when I get the big drum roll. Today, my guest is Mr. Martin Wells, and we're going to be speaking about his book, Sitting in the Stillness. What a great way to move into this interview after all that nonsense I said just a bit ago. Martin Wells is a teaching and supervising transactional analyst who has also been studying and practicing meditation for over 30 years. He works part-time in the NHS in the UK as a consultant psychotherapist and teaches mindfulness and practices psychotherapy from a non-dual perspective. Here is his information, everyone. Please go stomp all over his page, make a big noise, let him know that you exist, and your worlds can come together. Welcome to Center of Light, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you today, bub?
Yeah, I'm good. Been working today in our National Health Service, so it's the end of a long day, but I feel fine. Thank you.
How do you classify work? That what you do to make money, or are you living truly in the gate? Are you living in the passion? So in other words, did you really work today, or did you play?
I like it. As you can see, I'm of the age where I could retire if I wanted to. And the thing that I always say is the thing that I will continue to do is enjoy it. And if I stop enjoying it, I won't do it anymore. So I'm still enjoying it. And it's always really profoundly interesting. And I'm part of a wonderful team of people. So it's great, actually.
You're blessed all the way around.
Yeah. No, for
In
sure.
and out, up and down.
Yeah.
What motivated you, sir, to the practice of meditation, mindfulness, self-reflection, so forth and so on? How did you get into this wide open arena?
Well, it's a long time ago. I think my first interest was more from a philosophical point of view. I started reading Eastern philosophy, and it made a lot of sense to me in terms of life and what life might be about. I started meditating on my own, just experimenting and not knowing what I was doing. Then I found some teachers who I was with for over 20 years, and then more recently have been practicing in what's called a non-dual perspective, which is also called the direct path.
I love the term non-dual.
Mm.
I love it. It says something completely different than meditation.
Yeah.
There's another layer in there. And Martin, I don't know about you, but I have been saying more recently when I do my presentations that there is a place that exists beyond left, right, in, out, up, down, hot, cold, good, bad, red, blue, Democrat, Republican.
Yeah.
Who is this being that often finds himself in this duality split, thinking they only have two choices, this one or that one, and not ever realizing who is this being? Would
Sure.
that be the Trinity or the non-dual aspect that you were referring to?
Yes. Yes. It's a challenge for us because in a way we might say there's no one there. There's no one that we call an individual or a separate person. It's the being that's there, presence. So there is something, but to ego and to mind, it can feel like nothing. It can feel like an absence. But that's, in the little logos that came up at the beginning, one of them was liberation, and that to me is what liberation means: is the freedom from the individual being.
One of my absolute favorite words is liberation, and everything it is. Why is there such a growing interest in meditation at this time, sir?
Well, my sense is that in a sense that our world has, and maybe the pandemic is part of that, it's run its course. It's gone stale. The whole concept of capitalism and individualism and ego and celebrity and fame, it's not bringing what it promised. And I think there's a natural return to another sort of happiness, another sort of joy, which is fundamental, which is what we're born with, but so often forgotten.
So why the rise in mental illness?
I think that's a part of this problem. We've forgotten how to be in community. We've forgotten how to care about each other. We're often evaluating each other. Am I good enough? Am I rich enough? Am I famous enough? Am I happy enough? And within our culture, that's a massive problem. And I think one of the things we do wrong with mental illness is we think about it individually. We don't think about it enough in terms of what does it point up in terms of our culture and the problems in our culture. The biggest killer in this country of men under 40 is suicide. What does that say about the culture? Not about those individuals, but about the culture that they live in.
Would you say it's a challenge to be human?
Yes. Yeah.
And one way that we can find relief, that's not the right word, fulfillment, is through the art, practice, engagement, application between the time you start to the time you lay this body down. The way to go.
Yeah. And in some ways, the answer to your question is no. But I think we've created enormous challenges about being human. But fundamentally, we're like any other aspect of nature. Like my dog hasn't got a challenge being a dog. He's just being a dog. And
right.
The trees in my back garden are just being trees. But we struggle with that just to be who we are. We're always looking for more or progress or better or something, and it's a curse.
Passed down generation after generation, be it directly from the family, the same generation that you learned through your familial. You had law enforcement, you had schooling, you had media. So this is just this ongoing curse. And if you
Yeah.
can find yourself anyone out there, if you can find yourself anyone in there and be blessed enough, is there any certain particular meditations that you speak about in your book or any meditation schooling that you would refer some of our listeners to that they can immediately have some fulfillment if they're not having it now, be it in anxiety or
Yes.
depression?
Yes. That's a really nice question. The um, the thing about non-duality is it suggests that, as in there's a Zen poem which says nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to be. And in that sense, meditation is not about progress or getting anywhere or being more skillful. It's much more to do with, in this tradition, coming home to what's already there. So it's about being rather than doing. And in Chinese, there's a sort of paradoxical phrase called wei wu wei, which means the action of no action. So there really is no action to take, and meditation is much more to do with a simple presence and a simple being. And
Martin, I often talk about there's a 1,000 year journey ahead of us. And that 1,000 years it requires the first step. And when you take the first step, you've just shaved 500 miles off of your journey.
yes,
And what we're ironically or strangely trying to do is we're trying to move forward only to come back to where we are. So
yes,
it's really not about a doing whatsoever. It's
no,
truly about being here. There's no place to go. There's
yeah,
nothing you have to do. This is just simply sitting in the stillness. I always say that suddenly through the silence, the new world appears. This
yes,
is what the new world's about, would you say?
yes, exactly that. And it's revealed to us from that sitting, from that, in that silence, naturally, spontaneously, with no effort of mind, no designs, no goals, no expectations. It's just revealed. It's there.
Have you read any of the Robert Monroe work?
No, no.
Wow. It's not so much meditation, and it does relate to meditation. This is a cat. He used to be, I think, president of NBC a long time ago in the black and white
Oh,
days.
yeah.
And, he just started having these out of body experiences and he journaled all these. Anyway, I was leading up to being a master meditator.
Mm.
When you go and see, like for me, when I do a presentation and I do a one-on-one, I'm speaking to the audience and I simply, Martin, just, I intend, I will, and I shift. And I'm in it just like that. You've been
Yes.
doing it long enough as well to where, of course, we want to take it deeper and deeper into the divine space, the God gate. And we
Yes.
show intention through breath to open up the gate wide until we fall, and find ourselves in that joyful place. But do you find it happen for you just as easy as you sit down and close your eyes and take that first breath to shift?
These days, mostly yes, and not even in that formal sense, but like in lots of things in life, if I can stop the doing mode, then yes, it's there, it's spontaneous, and it's through this body mind rather than from this body mind.
And I was leading up to that question. Being a meditator for 30 years, have you had any experiences to where you launched to the astral, an ethereal, or whatever plane that you just sitting there and you feel this complete see you later body? I'm going to come back in a little while. Has this occurred for you?
Yes, yes, a number of times. Uh, Probably less so recently, but I think more recently, it's interested me more to be with the ordinary experience and the bliss of the ordinary. You know, the bliss of just sitting, of just being. Um, and sometimes those other experiences, sort of out of body experiences, can be a little bit seductive, I think, because then I remember being left wanting to experience that again, or how do I get there again, in a sense. So I think these days I'm more interested in the bliss of the ordinary, of of just being present.
I understand. And there's an aspect of me that truly loves these far in, far out cosmic experiences.
Yes.
I've had them all of my life, and it
Yeah.
helps me to remember my essence. But what can do that? Anything any greater than just simply being?
Yeah.
In this state of being, Martin, for you, do you find that the doorway to that is still opening for you? Do you find that you relax, or do you have to intend a little more to get that door to stretch open so you can feel a little more settled? Again, I understand that sounds like a doing,
Yeah.
but where does intention come in, or is that in the intention itself, which is I have no intention whatsoever except to be?
Yes.
Is that the gig?
Absolutely. And my French colleague John Mark, who introduced me to non-duality, has a little phrase that intention is in tension. So he's making the point that anytime there's a movement, an intention to find something, get somewhere, practice meditation or whatever, then there's a movement which isn't the stillness, which is a movement out of stillness. So again, there's that paradox. How do we, what do we mean by the action of no action, or the practice of no practice? Because as soon as we're trying to practice, then there's a movement out of stillness.
Right. Again, it puts us back in check for the world of duality. Do I do or do I don't? Exactly.
Yes.
You do both, and you
Yes.
don't do both at the same time.
No.
Tell us about your book, sir. Is this your first release, or did you have a few more
Yes.
before? And it's
Yeah.
through John Hunt Publishing?
Yeah, through John Hunt. Yes. Yes.
What division?
It started as an article. So chapter 1 was going to be an article. And it was at a time when I was really immersing myself in non-dual teachings, and going on silent retreats, etc., and really deepening that practice, I guess, for me. And then the stories just came spilling out of people, in supervision or in therapy or with colleagues. It just like it was writing me, really. I was holding the pen, but the stories were coming thick and fast, really.
Again, I lean back on the idea that you've been meditating 30 years.
Yeah.
And somewhere along this journey, did you ever come across rebirthing breath, the art of rebirthing?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Have you ever
A
done
long time ago.
it? This is how the egg cracked for me.
Was it?
Someone who became my mentor. He was an acquaintance, and he said, "You look like you need a shift." I said, "Okay." He says, "Do you trust me?" I said, "Well, yeah, kind of." He says, "Just." And keep in mind, I was raised Catholic, so I had a lot of hang-ups and all that.
Just a few, probably.
But now I'm recovering. Will meditation help my recovery? And so he put me in this rebirth breath. And I said, "How long does this take?" He says, "You're asking too many questions. You just have to want what you want." And he said, "It could take 2 hours." And so, and I just getting at it. And after about 10 minutes of that, the body takes over. So there's no longer any effort on the breather's part.
Yes.
And because we're talking about in that space of being, in that, one other favorite word is bliss, in that unending joy, this rebirthing experience that I've had quite a few times throughout the course of my life. I can actually do it on my own versus having someone watch me. I know how it plays out. The level of joy and an ecstasy that exists in that, I'm sure you're doing this in a meditation way. What is there something you return to meditation for, other than, of course, you're not doing it to simply just relax because you're stressed out?
Sure.
Meditating for 30 years has created a baseline of natural calmness in anyone. So other than just being there, do you have any other, is there a knowing you want? You just want to sit in the
Yes.
ooze?
Yeah. I mean, I think in broad terms, we're talking about a deep inquiry into who or what we are, what this is. and then meditation is part of that deep inquiry into the nature of the being, and a part of non-duality is that it's more of a stripping away of what we're not. So we inquire into, well, am I my ego? Am I my mind? Am I my personality? Am I my body? And in a way, all of that falls away as not me, revealing, and that's to me these days the point of meditation. Who am I? What am I at source? And then, of course, we come to things like you're describing. We're bliss and joy and love and union, all of those things in our essential nature.
I have in the recent past done this presentation series called The Cave of Samadhi, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I say, leave your religion and your shoes at the cave entrance. None of it will be needed, because where you are walking on is holy ground. Yes. And if you're going to bring your religion, when you are standing in the presence of the absolute, it all gets shattered.
Yes.
So would you say it would be, it just simply gets shattered. There's nothing else. It just gets blown apart into Take over, I'm laughing too much. We go in these ways of being with ourselves and with the world, with all of these expectations. And even if we get what we want via that expectation, we're still carrying around this burden of the expecting in the first place. And so if it does work, it tends to have one continue to expect. And some people get really good at it. They learn how to expect or intend in a certain way that they get their vibrational harmonics correct, to where they're very good manifestors, if you will.
Yes.
And some people are perfect at manifesting nothing via said intention.
Yeah, that's true.
So meditation provides this level of clarity, being able to simply just be in the space of nothing. My audience members, knowing them, or many people in the future, are going to come across, what can one possibly want sitting there in absolute nothing? Try it. You'll see just how busy and monkey-minded you are. Do you have any techniques you would like to offer, sir, to everyone, about how one can fall into meditation without all the spiritual woo-woo and the this and the that? What is a simple meditation that anyone can simply do and feel a result? We are result-oriented monkeys. We want to know that there's a reason we're doing something. If not, but that's kind of the opposite of what meditation really is. But still in all, how can someone have an effect that will drive them to want to do it again and again?
Yes. I think the simplest thing about the meditation process is we might just encapsulate it in 2 words: notice what's there, accept what's there. Just notice and accept what's there. And you were talking earlier about things falling away spontaneously that aren't real, and as we notice and accept, we notice that our thoughts come and go, our feelings come and go, our beliefs and our future and our past all comes and goes, and we're left with the present moment. And it's spontaneous, it's automatic, because when we notice and accept what's there, it falls away, and we're left with pure presence. And again, it's not a doing, but it's simply a being with whatever's there, and it's spontaneous.
Someone from the chat room, Williford Griff, asked the question. I think this question deserves an answer. It's actually on point to what we're speaking about and what you just described, sir.
Good.
Is there any chance to really fix our body when one lives in a non-toxic environment such as third world country? One can be less broken financially, but also physically, mentally, and spiritually. When in a cursed, soulless nation, it goes on and on and on. I'm going to give it my attempt.
Yeah.
Can we fix our body? Can we fix our body? First, ironically, your body's not broken ever, because it creates a different level of noise. Well, Keith, don't I have to at first admit that I get the game we're trying to run and trying to play. Be careful. The current in that game is very, very strong. So it's same as people, where are my prayer warriors? Someone in my family is sick. You got to be very careful with that, because when you have hundreds or maybe 1,000 people praying behind you who are unconscious, they're not helping you meet your goal of helping your loved one who may be ill. So the question simply becomes, can I heal my body? That's an open-ended question, and it only deserves an answer from the person asking the question. Martin, help me.
I suppose my speciality is more the mind, so I'll start with that. But I think it's very much related to the body. But a lot of the stories in the book involve people coming to me with difficulties, real life challenges, breakdowns, crises, and of course, in a way, they're looking for healing. And it's true on the physical level as well. So we look for healing. But if we approach that differently, and we really welcome and embrace what comes, and that doesn't mean we've got to like it or approve of it or anything, but if we can really welcome and embrace it, as in the Rumi poem, to welcome every guest, even the one that takes your furniture and your carpet and things, welcome every guest, then it transforms what is coming to us. We no longer need to fight with it or even think about healing it. But paradoxically, if we're not trying to heal it, there's the healing. So again, there's another paradox, because acceptance, a deep acceptance, is part of that healing process.
How do you define happiness?
I think it's a word that we need to be careful with, because there's so many associations with happiness, aren't there? And we think happiness is laughter or being at a party or having fun or something. But I prefer the word joy. But if we're going to stay with happiness, then it's much more to do with a fundamental openness to life and whatever it brings. So it's interesting you ask it after this last question, because I think true happiness is when we open up to mental pain, physical pain, and joy and pleasure, but open up to the whole lot, because that's being alive, and that's true joy and true happiness.
Yeah, people often associate the opposite of joy being pain. That's not necessarily the case. That's not necessarily the case at all. You can be a blissful human being and still break your toe on a piece of furniture your wife bought when you weren't looking. It's just in this moment, it's painful. Yes. Suffering is a different thing entirely.
Yes. And I love Rumi poems, and your American poet Coleman Barks has done a lovely translation of Rumi's poems. And there's one poem where he says the cure for the pain is in the pain. So why would we want to be rid of the pain? It's there to open us up, to break open the resistances and the structure of resistance.
When you move into your pain, it stops hurting. You still may feel the energy, the rawness of it, but your labels change. Yes. I remember having a kidney stone bout.
Wow. Me too.
Did you have a good time?
No, yeah, fantastic. Eventually.
And because when something hurts, we want to clamp down and say, ouch, and resist. Of course, you don't want to keep breaking your toe. You want to move the furniture. So what you do is you move your own internal furniture around so you understand how to navigate, negotiate your situation. But I had this kidney stone bout, and it was 11 hours. Oh, my God. And I just got on the conscious path, and someone suggested, and I went inside into a meditation. It was excruciating. It was vomiting excruciating. Mm-hmm. And I allowed the pain to be there. I simply allowed it to be there. And I found myself in the pain. I just found my presence in the pain. Mm-hmm. And I realized I am the one that was relating pain to suffering, suffering to death, and death being the end.
Yes.
When that light bulb went off inside of me, it completely
Yes.
stopped. It completely stopped. I never urinated a pellet. So I love that you brought up the idea that the only way you can ever really heal yourself is to go into that part of yourself that you may see as dark and not illumined. You know,
Yes.
joy
Yes.
is evidence of the presence of God. Where there is
Yes.
no joy in your life, you're not recognizing God. So when
Yes.
you recognize God in that lack of joy, God steps up forward and you become full of joy.
Yes.
Same idea, would you say?
Yes, exactly that. Exactly that. I remember a similar experience. I was having the treatment for kidney stones, which is called lithotripsy. I don't know if you ever had it, but they sonically blast the stone, and it's a bit like that sort of flicking against your skin, and it's after about 40 minutes, it's really excruciating. And like you, I've been reading some of Jean Klein's teachings, and he talks a lot about accepting and welcoming. And I thought, okay, well, here's a chance. I'll welcome this. And nothing happened. And then I thought, that's just a thought. I've just done this theoretically. Welcoming really means open-heartedly allowing this to be in my system. And in that moment, not only did it disappear, I mean, the pain was still there, but around it was bliss. It was quite extraordinary experience.
How do we find freedom in our story? Do we need a new story?
Well, the first thing to remember is we are freedom. That's our true nature, and it's only the conditioning that comes along after that traps us in our stories. And as a Catholic, you'll know something about that conditioning and the power of that conditioning on the mind and the body.
Wait, what are you talking about? Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I
Yeah.
consider myself a somewhat illumined individual. I still have experiences at night that my mind paints pictures to remind me of just how Catholic I still am in the residual deep in the core of my bones. Because if I was not raised in the situation or the family unit I was raised in, believing what we believed back when, I would not have these experiences that I find myself in this dense, dark place with this demon-looking thing hanging out. And, you know, I don't wake up in cold sweats like I did back in those days. I'm like, bro, you better check yourself somewhere else. I'm about to blast you with light. But some part of me is using this Catholicism as a self-reflection. As a gift. It's a gift to say, you know, Keith, this is a mirror opposite. Same as with the painful moments, kidney stone, or problems we have in life. You have to move into it. You can't go over it. You can't go around it. You can't run away from it. You can only go through it.
Yeah. And you couldn't know that freedom if you didn't know the prison. And if you didn't know the prison, you couldn't know the freedom. It's because we feel confined in a condition or a religion or a story that as you say, that's a reflection of the being that isn't confined, completely unconfined, liberated.
But it can be tough, and that's a bad way to lead in, and it's not an affirmation. But seriously, you know, when you go into meditation, it's kind of like, what am I supposed to do to not do something? And it's very easy to get caught up in this loop of figuring it out. Is there any particular breathing techniques that you would like to offer that puts one in a meditative space quicker through the monkey than anything you would offer? Something you'd offer?
I think again, simply noticing the breathing is a powerful meditation. Again, there's no doing about it, but sometimes I'll lead a meditation and we'll just notice the breath. We just notice it come and go. And I might add the thought that we're not doing breathing. You don't have to sit here and think, oh, I must in, out, in, I must do this, I must do that. It's more like we're being breathed. So there's a sense of surrender to life and to the breath that I think can be a lovely practice.
What's the best way to manage crisis, breakdown, situation?
Again, face it. if you can, really welcome it, celebrate it. In nature, we don't see breakdown as a problem. When the caterpillar breaks down into mush in the chrysalis, we don't think that's a problem. We know that is a breakthrough of another form of a butterfly, and it's exactly the same. We're part of nature too. So when something breaks down, we can know that something is breaking through. So that's part of it, is to know that, to have an understanding of that, and then the other part of it is to practice welcoming, practice going with that flow, letting yourself go with it.
From the chat room, welcome everyone. Center of Light Radio, Keith Anthony Blanchard here with my guest, Mr. Martin Wells, and we're speaking about his book, Sitting in the Stillness. Abigail asked a question. We talked about this a little earlier, but I think she arrived just a little late. She asked the question, what do you mean by non-dual mindfulness?
Yeah, another really nice question.
Do you find it's challenging to put these fine words to capture something that is, you can't just begin to just squeeze this in a box of words?
Well, we've used some words already, haven't we? Like freedom or love or peace. I mean, they're the best we can do, but none of them really describe the spacious presence that we are, really. And non-dual mindfulness, again, it's a pretty meaningless group of words, isn't it, in a way? But I'm trying to convey a simple practice of awareness, as in mindfulness, and in terms of non-duality, knowing what we're not, just observing something that comes and something that we're not. I had an example last year. I was running a meditation group in the hospital, and a woman had been in a previous group, and I said to her, well, what did you get from your last mindfulness group? And she said, that's really easy. I now know I'm not my thoughts. I now know I'm not my thoughts. And this is a woman who'd had some psychotic depression over years and years, and had, up until this time, believed her thoughts. She thought, I am useless, I am unlovable, I am unimportant, I'm a failure. All sorts of really harsh thoughts that she believed. So again, the non-dual is not that, not this or not that. Strip it away. That's not who you are. Those are just thoughts. Those are just conditioning. And just be aware of that. Let them go. They're not you.
That's a major breakthrough that lady had, because how many people still think, pun intended, still think that they are their thoughts and their feelings? That's why people take things so personally. That's why we think the world is real, because, your thoughts are just a cloud stream moving through your consciousness, and none of it's real until you grab one. And when you grab one, you make it stick, and it becomes your experience in the moment that you grab it. Yeah. And so we go, well, this is what I am.
Yeah. Exactly. And this being that we inhabit is the most highly evolved, sophisticated organism on the planet. I mean, nature's already unbelievably harmonious and balanced. It's just extraordinary system that we're a part of, and yet we can still walk around and think we're inadequate, or not good enough in some way. It's an absurdity, completely absurd.
And in the idea that most people think that they're their thoughts, here's another one. Don't think that you think the thoughts anyway. You're not the manufacturer of the thoughts. The thoughts that you think that you are thinking, you are not the manufacturer of those. They have already been created in infinity. It just so happens, as a radio, there's an opening where certain thoughts of like vibration ooze and ease their way into your consciousness. And if you think you're manufacturing them, and on top of that, you think that that's what you are. Yeah. That is the level of stripping away that Martin Wells is speaking about. Yes, Martin?
Yes, absolutely. And that stripping away is liberation. And as you were saying earlier, that's the freedom from the story, because the thoughts, particularly about self, who I am, are part of that story. And we're not the story either. That's just something that, we get overly attached to.
There's so much not to think about. There's so much thinking to not think about.
Yeah.
I saw one of the greatest graffiti writings in the bathroom. It said meditation. It's not what you think.
Nice. I like it.
So how big is your group of friends that you do meditation sessions with some people that you've been colleagues, peers
Yeah.
with?
Yeah. On a Thursday evening, we have an online group, and there's something like 15 or 20 people come each time, and usually the same group, but sometimes new people come, some people come and go. We've had a couple of people from Canada, Finland, New Zealand. So the joys of the internet mean that we can link up in all sorts of ways, which is nice.
When you are falling into that blissful space, that liberated space we've been speaking about, do you, sir, get glimpses? Do you, sir, get information that you can use for the betterment of your life when you go back to sleep or wake up, depending on how you see coming back to the world? Do you get information, or you feel impregnated with guidance?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, these days I wouldn't prepare for an interview like this, for example. I wouldn't prepare a talk because in some ways I'd be making it mine rather than opening the channel for what comes. So often when I'm teaching, I feel like something is teaching me while I'm teaching. So it's not so much me teaching, but the teaching passes through. So it doesn't feel like it's mine in any sense.
I know exactly what you mean. If you're still enough, well, first you have to be still for it to enter. It's already in you. It's a matter of just simply becoming aware. It's
Yes.
like, if you turn your head away from this interview and you just listen with your ears, well, that part of you is your awareness. That's the part of you that's always been and will ever be. That's the
Yes.
absolute you, because we don't have the obstruction and the distraction that the eyes can often bring into one's experience.
Yes.
It's it's been so long since I've formally meditated.
Uh-huh.
I have no excuse other than my life is an open eyed meditation. I'm meditating like you right now. I learned to
Exactly.
get out the way and allow the presence that's within all of us to simply make itself known to me via, again, my intention, the simple want to fall out of the Keith machine and into the God engine, right?
Yes.
And it does feel like something is becoming present or creeping up on you, if you will. Or my
Yes.
new way of describing it is not, I don't feel like I'm vesseling or channeling. It feels like I'm being cloaked. Do you know that feeling?
Being what?
Cloaked, draped.
Oh, yes. 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 I could see that. Yeah. Interesting.
So you can feel when the presence becomes present. You can actually
Yeah.
feel the transformation that happens from when Martin is Mr. Wells into when he's fallen to the well and there's no Mr. left. Wow, wow, wow. I'm enjoying my dialogue with you, sir. If there's something you want to leave us on the way out of Center of Light Radio, what are you doing? What you got coming down the pike? Anything you would like to leave them to empower them with something that they can use as an application to expand their life?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think the title of the book wasn't mine. It came from a Chinese Buddhist nun that I met many years ago. And what I really liked about what she said was, because I asked her how she taught meditation and how she would describe that. And she just said, I sit in my stillness and I invite people into theirs. So I think I'd say to people, really just practice sitting in your stillness. And if you do know other people who really do inhabit that stillness in themselves, connect to them, because they'll invite you into a communal stillness, a communal silence that is all of our birthrights, really.
Have you found that when you're engaged in something that you're passionate about, simply that you love, be it a mother, be it someone who likes playing pool, be it someone who likes to play basketball, like someone likes to cook or doing a this or that, a musician, do you find, because you have something to compare to, doing what you love so you know the feeling that is present,
Yeah.
and when you go into meditation and not doing anything at all, which you love, is it the same feeling? Do you find that when someone begins to engage more in those things that really stir their soul, that this is an excellent way to be in a space of meditation?
Yes, absolutely. And my godson, for example, is a musician, professional musician, and we often talk about his stillness that allows the music to come through him, and he really clearly understands that. And in lots of areas of our lives. I mean, I've just finished another book on golf and non-duality. So a passion of mine is practicing something like that, which is an action, but doing it in a way where there's no action. Again, in harmony with the natural world and allowing the natural world to influence and inform.
So you never swing a club.
Exactly. Exactly.
I get it. You're right. I was making a joke when that actually made a point. Martin, thank you for joining me here in Center of Light. You are welcome back anytime, sir. Keep me posted, the audience posted, about what you're doing. Everyone, I've been posting throughout this time with Martin Wells, how to find him on his website and to order his book. Any closing thoughts? What is God? Let me ask you this. I often ask people, feel free to decline. What is God?
Whoa, that's a big one.
Right.
I like Meister Eckhart's definition. So Meister Eckhart, if people don't know, was a Christian mystic of the 12th century. And beautiful writings if you ever get a chance. And I think the American writer James Finley has done a book on Eckhart's teachings. Really lovely stuff. And Eckhart once said, if you could really see a tree, you'd never need to go to church again. And I mean, you might choose to, but you'd never need to. And I think what he meant, as I hear it, was that nature and us as part of nature, that's God. That's an exquisite harmony of different forms, all from the same source. Amazing, beautiful, balanced. And to me, that's what God is.
I love it. Everyone, excuse me, I clicked the screen. Again, sir, thank you very much for joining me on Center of Light Radio. Please come back.
Thank you, Keith. I really enjoyed it.
Blessings, brother. Happy
Namaste.
blessings meditation. I'm in this giggly mood, everyone. I really enjoyed my time with Mr. Martin Wells. I want to say thank you, Gavin Lee Davies, for introducing us both.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night on Center of Light Radio, my guest is going to be Truth Seeker. Powerful individual, songwriter, singer, great podcaster. I'm looking forward. He's interviewed me recently on my new bestseller here, Homecoming, Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. And he has a book out called The Spiritual Realms. It's gorgeous. The cover's gorgeous. I love it. Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio. Remember, stop thinking so much. It causes problems. Be in the stillness. Be in the quiet. Stop moving around. Silence doesn't only mean hush your mouth. It means stop it. All of it. All of it. What's in there for me?